too much control with things like food and exercise, and we end up living a pretty anxious and difficult life. But too much letting go, and it's kind of easy to feel pretty bad pretty quickly. So how do those of us that have had some difficult experiences with food, body image, and exercise find that middle ground where we're putting in effort and staying healthy, but at the same time, not taking it to a dark or unhelpful place? So today I'm going to share with you how I've done it personally, coming from a place where I used to be super controlling and really anxious and kind of compulsive with my food and exercise. Now, I'm sharing my own experience with this because I've gone through this journey as someone who's deeply invested in fitness. And that kind of adds a different flavor to this conversation sometimes. I know a lot of people that have found their way out of troubled relationships with food and body image exceptionally well. They've done stellar work. People like Natalie Rose, Stephanie Michelle, Sarah Dosanjh, Catherine Hansen. You literally can't go wrong listening to any one of these people. And I'm 100% sure that in about 5 minutes, I'm going to remember someone else that I wish I mentioned in that list. I could go on. But I don't know too many people that have done this and talk about it from the perspective of being the massive fitness nerd that I am. And I know there are other people in the fitness space that are invested in, training and eating healthy that maybe have found their way back to some semblance of normality after going through some very difficult stuff. But I've also noticed that a lot of those people have kind of come full circle and still sell weight loss programs. And I just don't really gel with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting weight loss. I don't think it's evil or anything like that. But you're going to see in the next few minutes why I don't jump on that train. So here's finding the middle way as a gym nerd has done it. My name's Marcus, this is Strong Not Starving, etc., etc. And this is not a substitute for medical advice. So in previous episodes, I've talked a lot about being flexible with our food options while having a very regular and reliable rhythm with our meals and snacks. Like a lot of variety, not eliminating any food groups, and staying very, very consistent and very, very regular with the timing of our main meals and our snacks around those meals. But if anyone from the anti-diet, body positivity, whatever community ever actually watched the way that I eat and the way that I train, it might be easy to say, oh, that guy is on a diet. A lot of his meals look really boring, kind of like Fitspo stuff. He does food prep every weekend and he makes his own ice cream. So on one hand, I'm saying chill out, expand your options. And on the other hand, from the outside looking in, what I actually do myself might not look too different from what you might see from, a garden variety fitness influencer. And here is how that works. Now listen closely because this is really important. First, the training and exercise part. When it comes to physical training, I do not do it to change the way I look. I really enjoy being part of the Strong First community, and I enjoy collecting their certifications, training for their certifications, and participating in that whole thing. I find it really exciting and rewarding because those certifications and that community, it means something to me. And the stronger I get, the more I progress with the skills involved, the more I'm able to participate. So training has nothing to do with trying to make my body a particular shape, and it has everything to do with increasing my capacity and my ability to participate with a community that I enjoy, doing something that I find meaningful and fun and interesting. Now that creates a very, very different set of thoughts and feelings and beliefs to walking in the gym every day and going, ugh, I need to fix this. Now, I don't hate it if what I do kind of results in me looking in the mirror sometimes and thinking, oh, cool. But that is so far removed from my focus. For me, it used to be, years ago, all about what I saw when I looked in the mirror. But through recognizing that that was just not serving me at all and it was destroying my life, through intentional action, I've changed that. Movement and training and exercise is now all about being able to participate with things that I enjoy doing and connecting with people that I really like being around. Whether it's being able to keep up with my very, very energetic wife when we're on hikes, or showing up to Strong First certifications and being able to have a good time and socialize and hang out and not stress because I know that I'm capable of passing the certification tests. I love the feeling of being well prepared and being able to pressure test skills. Gives me a real warm and fuzzy. And that's very different to being underprepared and overwhelmed and struggling. No one likes that experience. Back in the day when I used to play in bands, one of my favorite things about that, after I'd played hundreds and hundreds of shows, was showing up to high-pressure situations confident and well prepared. Of course, I was still a bit nervous and scared, but that was also exciting. And I get to relive this now through the Strong First community. Now, there are so many different ways to do this. The important thing here isn't that you go and start training for Strong First certifications. The important thing here is the emphasis on participating in something that you enjoy with people you enjoy being around. Some of the most meaningful shifts I've ever seen as a coach have been people who have maybe stepped away from the kind of exercise or the kind of training that they thought they needed to do in order to make their body the right shape, and started doing things that involved a skill that they enjoyed practicing with people they enjoyed practicing that skill with. This is actually one of the reasons why things like CrossFit do so well. People can spend all day picking apart the problems with CrossFit, but what CrossFit does exceptionally well is create a sense of community. And again, I'm not saying you have to go do CrossFit. I would never do CrossFit. I don't like the way they structure things from a training and exercise perspective, but that's just a personal preference. What they do exceptionally well, like I said, is create a sense of community. Showing up and moving your body becomes about hanging out with people you want to hang out with. Like comparing my body to other people and wishing I looked different the way that I used to. That doesn't even have a place in the conversation anymore. I can honestly say that I still see people who are in I don't know, really good shape, and I think, oh wow, like that'd be cool, like awesome, good for them. But I don't experience that same, oh no, damn it. Like I don't experience that same kind of set of difficult feelings around it anymore. And what I'm about to say is really important to remember. This did not happen by accident. I didn't go from feeling anxious and compulsive and shameful and insecure about my body and food and exercise because one day I just kind of decided things should be different or I read the right book or something. No, this change came from well-practiced, consistent actions over time. There was a lot of intention here. And the first thing that was absolutely necessary in the journey of that transition was recognizing, okay, the way that I have been doing things, that's not working out for me. Absolutely not. It's just, no, I do not want to live this way anymore. No. It was a little scary thinking about the future and going, I'm not 100% certain where this leads, but what I am certain of is that where I've been sucks. That was the start of the journey. So when I realized that, during the days when any day was either a good day or a bad day based on what I thought I saw in the mirror, I had to start intentionally choosing where to invest my energy. For example, where we used to live, in my old office, there was a giant mirror that was built in to the closet doors. It was one of those sets of sliding doors where one of the doors was actually like a giant mirror, and I couldn't take the mirror off the wall. I couldn't remove it. That would involve getting all the doors changed, which I didn't have the money to do at the time. So I was stuck with this massive full-length mirror in my office. The choice to not get dressed and undressed in front of that mirror was intentional. The choice to not spend time in front of that mirror body checking was intentional. And I would walk past this mirror hundreds of times a week. And every time I walked past this mirror, there was the intentional choice of that is not where my energy and attention is going to go. And it wasn't something I was psyching myself up for and going, oh, let's do it. And kind of like running past the mirror and like, yeah, like every time, like too much energy. It was just like no, thank you. Every time I walked past. The choice to not weigh myself for years was intentional. And this doesn't mean I said, cool, I'm not going to weigh myself anymore and, started eating chocolate pizza for breakfast every day. No, I hadn't given up on my physical health. I just chose to stop feeding the things that were a barrier to good mental health. And again, for me, other people might weigh themselves and look in the mirror every day and just be fine. For me, during that time of my life, it wasn't helpful. And getting clear on that was an important step, because I've worked with hundreds of people who feel like if they stop weighing themselves and stop checking and stop looking in the mirror, that things are just going to go sideways really fast and keep going that way. But really, it's kind of this false sense of security that checking all the time is going to somehow keep us in alignment. But for a lot of people, it just perpetuates anxiety and the kind of difficult relationship with food that makes moderate, middle way, healthy choices feel way harder than they need to be. So it was a difficult but conscious choice to stop obsessing over and investing my energy in things that were contributing to anxiety, and instead put my energy and attention on things that were just a better investment. And when it comes to food, yeah, I did allow myself a lot of flexibility, but not at the expense of the foods that I knew I actually needed in order to feel good. Like dessert was a non-negotiable for me every day, but so was having a balanced meal that didn't leave me feeling like I'd just eaten something that Willy Wonka put together on a dare. Could I have had pancakes and ice cream for dinner every night if I wanted to? Like, sure. And, maybe that's part of some people's journey. But I knew that doing that was going to leave me feeling way worse than if I had a balanced meal and still had permission to have a bowl of ice cream and some dessert. So the flexibility with food did not slip into this all or nothing type scenario where I was just, like I said, neglecting the foods that I knew I needed to eat in order to feel good. And where that whole experience has led is to a situation where, like I mentioned before, if someone was looking from the outside, they might look at what I do and say, oh, that guy's a health freak, or that guy's on a diet. Because some food choices I make, in fact, a lot of the food choices I make can be pretty repetitive, and other people might consider them to be boring. But there's a reason I feel genuinely at peace and happy eating this way most of the time. And that reason it is definitely not because I believe that one day it's going to lead to me having the body that I'll finally feel proud of and that I'll feel good in. That has nothing to do with it. I'm able to do this because without a shadow of a doubt, I know that if I wanted to go to the shop and buy some chips and chocolate, I could do that and enjoy it and feel absolutely zero guilt about it. And that only becomes possible when we navigate and go through that difficult phase of challenging the things that reinforce fear and conditional self-acceptance. Like those beliefs that sound like, I can't feel good about myself unless I look like this. Or I'm afraid that small fluctuations in my weight or my diet are going to have detrimental and irreversible effects on my health. We need to check whatever you're doing that's reinforcing these beliefs. Because you didn't think these beliefs and feelings up for fun, like they came from somewhere. And it's complicated because some of these things came from way, way back, like way before we were consciously choosing where our attention goes or what we were believing or what we were exposed to. A whole bunch of fear and difficult emotions come from our childhood experiences. And we have to have some compassion for that. We can't blame ourselves for the conclusions that we came to about life and ourselves and the world when we were like kids. But now, when we have this awareness and we have this knowledge, if we're choosing to reinforce these things, then that kind of becomes our decision, our choice to keep throwing fuel on the fire and to keep these things alive. So whatever we're doing that reinforces these beliefs and these feelings needs to stop. We need to get a handle on these things if we want to feel more peace and strength. And breaking the cycle isn't easy. I'm not saying it is. When we try to change patterns or we try to do things differently, we're often met with a lot of difficult feelings and a lot of fear, sometimes a lot of shame, sometimes a lot of guilt. Like it's a difficult path. I'm not saying you should be able to watch this video and then just go, cool, sorted, let's do it. No, it is more complicated than that, of course. And a really important step with the right support, of course, can be getting an understanding of where some of these beliefs and feelings came from. But really what it comes down to, through one path or another, is understanding that we will only really feel freer and stronger around food and body image and exercise when we stop throwing fuel on the fire of the things that are the cause of us feeling shameful and fearful. We find a productive middle path with food and movement when we learn to practice navigating the difficult thoughts and feelings that drive us towards extremes. So what might you be doing in your own life that are contributing to your decisions with food and exercise feeling like a really big deal? If you'd ever like support in finding your way through this, don't hesitate to reach out. My name's Marcus. I'll see you next time.